Hello, hello there, folks. Welcome to the situation report for Operation Z on today, May 15, 2022. I'm your host, Sankara, for the Upriver Crawfish. Today's report will be focusing on a couple of lies and some analysis on two other on Austin's visit and John Kirby's embarrassing statement. So the two lies is the Seversky Donets River crossing and the activities in Kharkov city. Okay. So over the past week, there's been there appear a picture showing some armored vehicles on the riverbank apparently destroyed, apparently Russian armored vehicles destroyed. And apparently there were 73 units of that, according to the narrative. There were 73 units of that were destroyed, that the Ukrainians destroyed, and along with a whole battalion of Russians on the riverbank. That is a lie. Now, one of the things that I've noticed, though, is that sometimes even the independent, truthful journalists, some of them are really give kudos to. They sometimes buy into some of this because not due to fault of their own, but because they're trying to be as objective as possible. But what that does is that it allows the Ukrainian propaganda and lie to get all the way across the world before the truth even has a chance to put on its pants. And so, a couple of things you got to understand is that by this time now, you should understand that what's coming from the Ukrainian military and the U.S. Patrons and the mainstream media, it's a lie. I would say you should reflexively either don't comment on it or comment on it reflexively as a lie until you have evidence that is true. Because when you entertain something like that for a little bit, imagine the Ghost of Kiev story. If you entertain that and say, "Oh, it's possibly okay," or the Ukrainian person knocked out maybe two Russian jets, it's still a blatant lie. So I think we should be a little bit more careful. Yes, a couple of things that I know is a lie. From the narrative, just the narrative from what the Ukrainians and the Western media is saying, I know it's a lie. They claim that Russians tried to cross in the same location 5 times and they were destroyed with artillery. Apparently, drones was watching and there was artillery correction destroying the Russian armor. And so a battalion, that would be about 300 men with 73 units of armor cars. That is a blatant lie. First, no one doing or contested river crossing will bunch up their troops like that in the first place. Let alone do it 5 times at the same location. Mind you, not even the Ukrainians, who, though they've been brave in this battle, I will give them props for being brave, but they have not been skillful. Their operational model, as given to them by the US, is out of whack. It's nonsense. So, this is a blatant lie. One of the things that you do when you cross in the danger zone, let me even start from a platoon level. I've seen a river crossing in simulated battle with my battalion at a battalion level before. But let me start from even the platoon level. When you get to a danger zone, first of all, you're spread out and you'll make security. You will send 2 people across. You guys providing security from the near side meaning the area you're on, far side being the area that you want to get. They will go across the danger zone. It's danger zone because it's open and you can be destroyed in that open field or in the water. So they will go across. 2 men will go across. They will go to the far side at a distance that they can still be seen by the rest of the platoon. They would then move, one go left, one go right, and come back in a box formation to clear out an area that the platoon will be able to go and set up a 360 degrees perimeter in. From there on, once they have done that, they will go and post security. Another 2 will go across. They will take up security, and that's how that unit will go piece by piece till they clear out, till they get on the far side and provide security, do a head count, and then move forward. Now, it's slightly different when you're using a whole battalion to cross on how to do. But the battalion, when they're going to cross in a contested situation, because there's crossing when it's not really contested, in which case there's not much. Even in that case, when it's not contested, everybody don't just come and line up at once. Let alone when it's contested, it's not going to happen like that. The unit's going to come across. Decision's going to come as to whether they must go across that area. They are going to be men. Even the U.S. did it in Iraq. They are going to be men on the near side. You'll be putting firepower downrange to allow your men, the few advanced units, advanced elements, to go across to then set up a perimeter. The units on the near side will be spread out. They're not going to be bunched out like you see in the picture. The Russians, of all people, will know this. Even the Ukrainians, who have been dumb in this battle, they know this. And I will tell you how they know, why I know they know this. So, your guys on the near side will be spread out, and you guys, they will move small elements at a time across to the near side until everyone gets on the near side, form a bridgehead, and then be able to move forward. That's how it happens. So for you to even make the narrative that the Russians come in this area on a contested crossing, keep sending men to die up to a battalion level, to lose 73 units of armored vehicles, is a lie. It's a blatant lie. It makes no sense at all. And that close together makes no sense. Furthermore, one of the things that Larry Johnson from the Sonar 21 website, and you guys should go out there and look at his website too. One of the things he pointed out was that, and when he pointed it out, then I realized it myself, is that the vehicles they're showing are BMP 1s with the old turrets. The Russians have upgraded their BMP 1s with new autocannons and turret. So it's showing, those pictures are showing some Ukrainian vehicles in there, the ones that you can see clearly. But I don't even think, like the Ukrainians been doing, where they've been showing their own destroyed vehicles as Russian vehicles. I don't even think in this case they did that. I think this is just total fabrication. I don't know what they did with the picture. I'm not an expert on it, but I think that is total fabrication. This is what I know happened. Before this lie came about, the Russians had set up a pontoon bridge to cross. They have set up the pontoon. They have not even come to the pontoon, and the Ukrainian saw it and they blew the bridge. So the Russians didn't go across that day when they blew the bridge. That's it. That was the narrative that the Ukrainians themselves had given, that they blew that pontoon bridge. They didn't talk about armor. They didn't talk about men being lost. They went and blew the bridge, that bridge. Now, a little later, the Russians found that the Ukrainians had then set up their own pontoon bridge and tried to cross. They have put one element, they have put an element, an advanced element on the side, on the far side of the bridge when the Russians saw it. And the Russians using drones calling artillery on this. And I will show you this video of it. The calling artillery destroyed the bridge, and the unit that had crossed, they were left without a bridge to cross back, and their forces that were on the near side had then dispersed. Remember, the Ukrainians didn't sit there to wait for the Russians to destroy their armory, but they're trying to tell you that the Russians sat there to wait for the Ukrainians to destroy their armory. No. The only reason why the element that had crossed on the far side had been and got destroyed was because they had no support. They had entered into enemy territory and they were surrounded and they got destroyed. Otherwise, if they had not already crossed, all would have happened is that some of them may have gotten hit, but generally they would have pulled back intact with their battalion or whatever a large grouping that they had. So let me go ahead and show you the video. Here's the video when the Russians saw the Ukrainian bridge. And here's the advanced scout unit that went and helped to destroy the other units of Ukrainians that had crossed. As you will notice in that clip that I just showed you, the Russians had a drone watching the whole stuff. According to the Ukrainians, they had a drone watching and correcting with artillery fire, but they cannot show you the video. So to say, for some independent guys to say, oh, maybe about 50 or about 100 or so got killed, 100 or so or 50 Russians got killed. Where's the proof that comes from? Where do you see? How come there's only a still picture? How come there's only a still picture? It's like the supposed Russian column that was destroyed in Kiev. You see one or two fires that hit a couple of tanks, and the explosive reactive armor activated, and all the tanks went into reactive mode. They went into defensive mode and scattered to respond, and then all of a sudden the clip cut, No more clip, and then CNN said that whole column was destroyed. This is the same thing that's happening. None of that is true. The Russians actually already crossed at Belgorovka. That's how they managed to take over Dogan Koy. So in this area, that's how they managed to take over Dogan Koy. So even if it was true, I don't even want to say even if it was true, because it's nonsense. It's pure nonsense. And you know when this came about? This came about when Popasnaya fell. So the Ukrainian needed a story. Let's move on to the next story. The next story is around Kharkov. This year is Kharkov area. This whole area is Kharkov. This is Kharkov city. Yes, the Russians were in the gates of Kharkov city at the beginning of the operation. The Russians pulled back. Again, these are some of the things that you do when you are good or skillful and professional military. You don't just let your men sit in indefensible positions. Okay. In cities, either when you're attacking in cities, you need a lot of men to go and attack. If you stay in the defense, if you don't have a lot of men, you better have a lot of firepower. But what happens is that if you stay in the defense, the person coming to attack you, if they intend to destroy the city, they would destroy a lot of the city with their firepower. So the Russians doesn't want that. Furthermore, they know their positions with a very few amount of men over there is not defensible. So they withdraw. As they withdrew, then the Ukrainians went, the same thing that happened in Irpin, in Bucha, in those places. Then the Ukrainians, as they see an opportunity now, mind you, all the time the Russians there, they didn't really launch a full assault. But as the Russians start to withdraw, that's when they say the counteroffensives are launched. And the Russians withdraw to the border area. My bet is the Russians will see this area and have the men pull back to, let me pull this up again. My bet is that the Russians will see this area and will have them pull back and will just hold these areas. So two other narratives they keep saying that these guys said that during the attack are somehow going to cut the supply lines for forces here. How? They're far away. If those guys over there are enough to turn around and come here to try to cut the supply lines along here to the forces here or to threaten these forces here, they will leave a Kharkov city exposed, which they wouldn't want to do. They don't want to give up Kharkov city. So how? Makes no sense. Then secondly, people say, oh, they're attacking and they're going to the Russian border. Sure. Yes, the Russian border that Russia ceded around Shongov area and Sumy, Shongov, all this area. Yeah, all this is in Belarus, but started from here. Yeah, it's all the Russian border. So if Ukraine was trying to get to the Russian border to do something, maybe attack into Russia, they have here Kursk. That's the city of Kursk. They have it already. They're already to the border. So at Belgorod, there are other places in Belgorod for which they are at the border. Why would it need specifically to be to get here to attack the border? All of that is to distract you from the fact that they had lost Popasnaya. Popasnaya is important. And then furthermore, they are losing Avdiivka right now. Seversky Donets is also in Liman, Krasny Liman. They are also in a position of being encircled. That's the reason why all these stories and nonsense is coming up. That's the only reason. The Ukrainians are getting a whooping, a thorough whooping. So, another thing I want to point out is that, and this will be my last comment on the whole Seversky Donetsk River crossing. Remember how the Russians are doing this war. They're doing it in an attritional way, purposely to drain Ukraine of manpower, destroy the military, and drain them of economic resources. If the Russians wanted to put full force into this operation, they would destroy Ukraine and this would be over in no time. But no, they don't want to do that. They want to drain Ukraine properly till the West will sue for peace. And they will get everything they're doing. Look at what's happening to the Ukrainians. This is every day. What the Russians do is that the Russians would bombard any defensive location. They will bombard it heavily with artillery. Then the men will go in probing. When they meet resistance again, they will pull out and let the artillery do the work. Then they'll go in and wipe out the remnants that are there. That's how the Russians doing it. So why would it make sense for them to send a battalion 5 times to cross in the same location where they first lost men, a heavy amount of men? Let's say in the first barrage, maybe the first attempt, they lost maybe 30 or 50 men. Why would they go back in the same location in a very short time? So it makes no sense. Well, take a look at this. This is sad. This is what's happening to Ukraine. This is I don't know if it's Russian military. Well, there's Russian military as part of it, but some Russian officials from different agencies, I think, they're burying Ukrainian dead. This is every day. Ukraine is losing men. It makes no sense. And you come back to the situation in Kharkov. A smart military, a skillful military, knowing a position is indefensible and men could get encircled, pull back into more defensible position, and then adjust. That's what you do. The Ukrainians are not doing that, which is bad for the men. And from what the POWs are saying, officers are running away and leaving their men to fight and die. Their men are about to be encircled. There is no rescue coming. There are no counteroffensives coming. They don't have no other group of men coming to rescue them. They have no air power. The artillery is low. Why you keep having these men die like this? For what reason? There is no point to that. And this is how this guy's dying. You see that? That's not just one day. Every day, that's what's happening to Ukrainian forces. Now, let me move over to the Austin visit. So, in previous videos, I have pointed out that the U.S. knows the score in Ukraine, and they don't like it, and that's why they're mad. This is one proof of it. Remember Lloyd Austin? Remember this guy? One of our generals that disgracing themselves? Remember him in Poland when he said the U.S. is looking to weaken Russia such that Russia can no longer do the things that they're doing in Ukraine. That's what Lloyd Austin said the U.S. was doing. That's what Blinken said that they're planning to do, weaken Russia. In fact, after they said that, one of the Ukrainian security and national security officials came out and said they would no longer sign a document for peace. They will only sign a capitulation agreement from Russia. And this capitulation will be the Russia breaking up into multiple parts, the change of regime, the breaking up into multiple parts, Russia giving up Crimea, the Donbass, and even to appease the Japanese, Russia will give the Kuril Islands as well. That's what this idiot said. Right. After Lloyd Austin made that remark that they're looking to weaken Russia. And according to the US media, Russia is losing this war big. The Ukrainians are fighting. They were doing so great on the battlefield. I mean, the Ukrainians are dying, bravely dying. They're just like the Fidayens and on the march to Baghdad were bravely dying. They were dying, but bravely. That's how the Ukrainians are dying, bravely. Yeah. So Lloyd Austin called Shoigu to ask, or if you want to put it in the U.S. terms and say demand a ceasefire. Yeah. So Lloyd Austin called Sergei Shoigu to demand a ceasefire. And as some of the, I think I read it on Sonar, Russian, on Sonar 21, where Larry Johnson put there a Russian phrase that said, go pound sand. Basically, that's what the Russians doing. Nope. So I will ask the people who still listening to CNN and the Western mainstream media, my dear beloved in-law and his friend, Mr. Spencer and his friend. I wonder if Ukraine is doing so great, right? Aloysius, this is for you too. If Ukraine is doing so great as CNN is saying, and the U.S. goal is to weaken Russia, why call for a ceasefire? Why should the U.S. call for a ceasefire now? Russia is on the ropes, right? In fact, I did hear, I think it was on CNN or one of the mainstream media, where the guys gave Russia another about 90 days before the collapse. Remember, they are giving several different times when the Russian military will collapse. So why call for a ceasefire? Russia on the ropes. Why call for a ceasefire when you know you're winning? Could it be that it's because you know you're not winning and you just propagating a lot of lies? Could that be the reason? I think it is. I think we're onto something here. All right. So the U.S. is knowing right now that what's happening in Ukraine is getting bad, and the Russians seem to be increasing the operation tempo. So the up tempo seems to be going up now, and they're about to whoop. It's about to be made clear what's happening in Ukraine. And I would say this though, the U.S. are very good and crafty in coming up with a new narrative as to what happened. So I can't wait for this one because, I mean, to be frank, sometimes it's very enjoyable. I remember in 2014 when the Ukrainians were fighting and they were saying that by summer, by the end of December, they were about to seize the whole of Donbass. And then by the time they got whooped and was encircled. I forgot the town that they were encircled in. When it got whooped and was encircled in that time and just massively destroyed, and I was thinking, I said, okay, all this lie now is coming to, let's see what you were saying now. Oh man, they came up with a new one that said the Russians came over the border. So this time it's the Russians. So I wonder who they're going to come say, well, I won't be surprised if they say China came over the border or China gave help to Russia. I would not be surprised that if they say China gave help to Russia. Now, let me go to the embarrassment that uh, 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 John Kirby, I consider it an embarrassment as a former member of the U.S. military. It is an embarrassment to me. I consider this an embarrassment to me as as former member of the U.S. military because it's one. I know we have to do propaganda. Russia is our enemy. Whatever. I know we have to do propaganda and put on a brave face, but I didn't expect military men, whether in uniform or out of uniform, to be embarrassing themselves with this propaganda lie to this extent. It really is embarrassing to me. It pisses me off because it makes it feel like to say our generals don't know what the hell they're talking about. This is supposed to be left with pundits, with stupid idiots like Larry Nance. It's supposed to be left with people like that to do this type of lying propaganda, not us. But Admiral Kirby came out and made a statement, which to me was very embarrassing, saying that the Ukrainians, that they've been training the Ukrainians for 8 years and preparing them, and that the Ukrainians, they were even surprised how well that the Ukrainians fought. They thought Kiev was going to be taken in 96 hours. And they were surprised how bravely and good the Ukrainians fought. This is nonsense. In Mariupol, the Russians thought 15,000 troops were in Mariupol. So to seize Mariupol, the Russians put about 50,000 men in Mariupol. 50,000 men. That's the combat ratio, especially for a city. The combat ratio for attacker to defense, 3-1. So they put 50,000 men because they thought 15,000 men were in there. Now, in Kiev, you had over 100,000 to 200. I speculate it was more like 200,000 men in Kiev. The Russians only brought about 40 to 50,000 men towards Kiev. It should have been clearly understood by U.S. military that the Russians were not planning to take over Kiev. It could have been that they were putting pressure on Kiev, or they could have seen it immediately as a feint. Most, even independent people, independent people who were looking at this, independent military people who were looking at this, have been saying it was a feint ever since before the Russians actually pulled forces from there. They have been saying this was a feint. That generals and admirals didn't see this makes no sense. Now, let's go to the stuff that Ukrainians fought as well as better than they were expected. Russia, in 4 days, all that the U.S. built, all this cohesion or cohesive integrated military, Western military, sophisticated Western military with sophisticated weaponry, sophisticated command and control. This was on at NATO standards for 8 years. In 4 days, the Russians destroyed this integration. They destroyed Kiev command and control. They destroyed any ability for Kiev to launch an operational counteroffensive, and pretty much they made Kiev forces in the east isolated in 4 days. How I know it's in 4 days that this happened, I had earlier said maybe 10 days, but now I think when I think about it properly, it is 4 days. It's 4 days because on day 4, that's when CNN was showing the 40-mile column. Russia had a 40-mile column. This should have been open to attack. Several different attacks from several different places. The Ukrainians had no ability to do so. That's because by day 4, their ability to organize an integrated response to the Russians was broken. I can even go as far as saying day 2. But day 2, I would say the integration was mostly broken in the Kiev region, and mostly it was because of confusion. Because in day 1, the VDV, the airborne units, landed in Kiev at Gostomel Airport. The CNN caught this by surprise. The Ukrainians could not even launch an offensive. All they did was fire artillery at the location, and those apparently to scare the Russians so that they can run away. They fire artillery at those locations, and they ended up destroying their own plane there. So by day 4, that's when CNN was showing that long column, 40-mile column, open to be attacked from the air, with counteroffensives from the ground, on the flanks and stuff. None of that was happening. That was by day 4. So your 8 years of planning, your 8 years of preparing a group with your men involved, giving operational direction. So U.S. and NATO operational model was what the Kiev regime was using. And yet, they were destroyed in 4 days. All that integration, cohesion was destroyed in 4 days. And you're proud of it? I'm embarrassed for you. This better be propaganda at its worst. Otherwise, it really is embarrassing to people that serve in the U.S. military, that an admiral will really think this. What do you have to be proud of? Therefore, the cauldron around Mariupol was already closed. The guys in the Donbass area could no longer, if they wanted to pull out, they could no longer pull out because they were in a virtual cauldron. No one was had the ability to come to their aid. No organized force had the ability to come to their aid because Chernihiv, Sumy, and Kharkov was blocked off on the east. They have forces here blocking off on the east. The Russians were threatening towards Nikolaev. They had seized Melitopol and was moving towards Zaporozhye. Whatever forces were in Dnipropetrovsk and Kryvyi Rog were not able to come to the aid of these guys to launch counteroffensive to even break open Mariupol on day 4. That was day 4. So what are you talking about? What are these guys talking about? It's embarrassing, man. This is embarrassing. The Russians came and destroyed your 8 years of training and planning in 4 days. I would say 4 days. But if we want to say, okay, let's be more conservative, I'll say 10 days. In 10 days, then, 8 years of planning was destroyed in 10 days. Wow. And yet you're proud of that. This is insane. Let me come to Snake Island incident a little bit. So this is Snake Island. I don't even know why the Russians call it Snake Island. It looked like a steak to me, like a tomahawk steak. Or maybe I just want to eat tomahawk steak. But let's come to Snake Island. The Ukrainians had launched an attack on Snake Island so that they were trying to do a propaganda to spoil the May 9th celebrations in Russia. And the Russians laid a trap for them. They lost 4 fixed-wing aircrafts, so that's Su-24 and 3 Su-24 and a Su-27 fighter jet. They lost 10 helicopters. Some of them with men on them. A lot of them with men on them. One of the deputy Navy commander, Igor Bezai, was killed piloting one of those helicopters. They lost 30 UAVs, including I think 8 Bayraktar TV2s, and they lost 3 landing crafts. I mean, it was a pure disaster. And that was just a propaganda type of operation. According to the Russian Ministry of Defense, which I believe in this case is the Ukrainian General Staff was against that operation. But the UK advisors there forced Zelensky to contravene his men's decision, and as a result, they launched the operation and lost those amount of men on Snake Island. The Russians have now reinforced Snake Island again, and there's actually a video of some of the dead Ukrainians. Here's a video of some of the dead Ukrainians on Snake Island. And how your own officers or your president would feel you like that? Why was this operation necessary? And to let the foreigners send your men to die like that? That's what's happening in Ukraine, y'all. Furthermore, things are about to get immensely bad for the Ukrainians now. There are videos of Terminator BMPT, Terminator infantry fighting vehicle infantry support vehicle being brought to, no, not infantry support, my bad. It's a tank support vehicle being brought to bear on the front. I think the Russians are getting ready for some urban combat, and they're going to piecemeal those Ukrainian forces that are still there. I think that's what's going to happen. And I think I have the video showing some of this. Let's see. That's a TB2, BMPT2 vehicle passing there. So that's one in front of a tank. So get me ready for urban combat.
Mm-hmm.
This is very spotty today. Sorry about that. Sometimes the Russian websites get attacked. Okay, so the Russians are putting more firepower into this stuff, and they're looking to just crush the Ukrainians. I'm sorry, those troops over there, they have no chance. Here's a better view of the video without it. So that's one Terminator right there. That's a tank.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like another Terminator there. And another Terminator. It looks like that's another Terminator again. In a tank. So, yeah, another tank, I think. Yeah. Oh Lord, it's going to be bad for the Ukrainians. It's getting bad for them. Because in urban combat, that thing would pick them off way from way back without them even smelling a tank to use their javelins, which sucks, by the way. Oh, by the way, the Ukrainians have now ordered that their men cannot talk bad about the U.S. weapons, the weapons the U.S. sending that are failing. The U.S. and NATO can't talk. It is now against the law for them to talk bad about those weapons. Can I show you how well things are going, huh? Here's a video of a DPR sniper taking out a Ukrainian sniper that was claimed, and they found the video of the Ukrainian sniper climbing up. There's another video there, but he's climbing up in this place to go and snipe. There he is, right here. There he is, and he gets taken out. One shot, one kill. That's the Marine Corps style. One shot, one kill. So let me say, I will give you guys must give some homage to to some fellow independent, I will call us, I guess, resistance media. So you could check them out. There's Redovka. I'm using their map. The map is a lot more accurate. And in fact, let me just point out that from a real SitRep perspective, after Popasnaya was captured, the Russians are now taking hitting Severodonetsk, so they are surrounding this area, Liman, all of them in this area, and that whole nonsense about the Seversky Donets river crossing. They actually crossed the river and they seized Dok and Koye, and they're now trying to seize uh, 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 Severodonetsk. Actually, from my understanding, battles is right on the outskirts of Severodonetsk right now, and that unit either needs to pull back or surrender, or they will get it. I mean, I don't even know if they can pull back anymore. And then at the FK, also on this side of the line, the DPR forces are taking over those places. So for resistance media, I would say some of the places to check, guys that are uh, 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 that that will give you something, and they try their best to do uh, to be objective, even though we know we're on the side of the resistance. They try their best to be objective. I would say Redovka got some stuff there. Um, I've just keep following this Larry C. Johnson guy. I think he is some CIA former CIA analyst or something, and he's at Sona 21. He's good. Uh, South Front is good too. I really do think South Front has some intel that they get from the Russian and from somewhere, somewhere they get their information from, and it's pretty good, obviously. And then there's in Telegram, you want to try Intel Slava Z. Uh, Obviously, the Russian Ministry of Defense stuff is there. Then there's the Saker. Saker has some guys that put out some good stuff. And then my favorite person of all when it comes to analysis, uh, though sometimes I don't go to his stuff because it seems like we're on the same wavelength. But every now and then, it's not bad to go and check out Moon of Alabama. He's a former. I think his name is Bernhard. That's what I've learned from Alexander Mercurius saying his name is Bernhard. I think he's a former German military officer. He's pretty good with geopolitical analysis too. And then obviously you got Alexander Mercurius, Scott Ritter, Marine brother. He's on point. Colonel McGregor, and who else I say? Oh, I like this other guy, Alex Christoforou too. He does some stuff I like, especially there's a segment there, a part of his segment he calls Clown World. And that part is really funny. I do enjoy it every now and then. Sometimes I just go just to listen to Clown World. But yes, uh, this war is going just how the Russians want it. The unfortunate part is that men are dying for no reason, and that part pisses me off. Not that I like the Ukrainians. I mean, the Ukrainian government is doing it to themselves. Uh, 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 they're just corrupt. So I don't like them, and I don't like the Nazis in their government and the Nazis troops that are fighting. I have no love for them. But being a military person, I just got to feel, and it sucks when your leadership treats you like the way they're treating their men, and that part is sad. And also the sad part is that the civilians getting killed, the places getting destroyed for no reason, and men losing their lives. That is a The thing with these men is that they want to be loyal to the country. They want to be loyal. They want to stand up and fight. But you have nothing to fight for. Now you're fighting for another country's wish to destroy another country. Why is that good for you? So you're not fighting for your own government. You're not fighting for your own cause. So that's what's happening to them. All right. Please click like to help with against the algorithms. Subscribe and help out the channel. Thank you. In about another week, I will put out another situation report. Thank you.